Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Darrell Owens back for another edition of One on One as season 7 continues to roll along. We are heading into episode 4. I mean, it's kind of happening kind of quick here. Didn't realize it would be rocking and rolling, but here for episode 4 of season 7, aka episode 208 overall, we got one of, for at least for me, one of the biggest and one of the best play-by-play broadcasters out there. I'm not just saying it because this man is on the show. I've had an opportunity to be around him for the last, well, going on 10 years. It doesn't even seem like it, but for 10 years, I've had a chance to watch, learn, and grow from this amazing play-by-play broadcaster. And I've just learned so much about my craft. And to be honest with you, I don't think I'll be anywhere where I would be today without him. And I'm just so excited to have the man, the myth, the legend, Robert Fish, here with us today to talk about his career. Very pumped up about it. We're going to make that happen here. Episode 208 of One on One begins now. One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to One-on-One, a Legacy Maker Sports Network. Hey, everybody. Once again, glad to have you all here for episode 208 of One on One here in season 7. And I got my man with me today. I'm very, very excited to have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Robert Fish. Rob, how you doing, man? Once again, we're just so glad to have you on the show. How you doing today?
I appreciate it, Darrell. I'm doing all right. I see that based on that introduction, you have received the check. So that's good.
Yeah, the check is cleared. So I do appreciate that. Yes, but the money was nice, sir. The money was nice. But yes, once again, glad to have you on, and just can't wait to get in just a little deep dive on your career and just talk about how you got to this point in your career as we speak. With that being said, we got to start the show off the way we start every show off, and that's with the check-in. All right. So, Rob, I got to start everything off with the check-in. The check-in is just to check in on you. How life with you, your family, your friends. How is life right now for Robert Fish?
Things are good. You know, it's summertime, so things are quiet. We've had some time to relax. Things are going along well. My son's doing his thing at Virginia Tech as a rising junior. So he's an engineering major. You know, my wife's good. We got our health. That's the main thing. I'd say everything is, really good right now. And we're looking forward to, continuing with this good summer time and relaxation before, as you know, everything kicks up here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very busy times coming up here in the next couple of weeks. And I know you're ready to get things rocking and rolling. The break is always nice. But it's right. Like, once you get back into the sports juices, it just, everything just kind of rolls from there.
That's true. The break is good. And you do like that lull, but also at the same time, when you like what you do, like we do, and do what we do, you want to keep doing it. And you want to get back to it. So, we're ready to kind of get back into things here, at least in a little bit. Not tomorrow, but maybe in a couple of weeks or so.
Exactly. It's so funny because you say that you get into a mode. You're so busy. You're always running. You the next event is on your mind. And then when you know that it's getting close to the end of that time frame, you're like, all right, I'm ready for this break. And then the break happens and you're like, kind of miss it a little bit. I kind of miss it a little bit. So, but don't worry, we won't be missing it for so much longer. We got a lot of sporting events coming our way really, really soon. Now, I want to kind of dig a little bit into your passion of sports. I want to know, when you were 7, 8, 9 years old, what made Robert Fish fall in love with sports? What made you, or who made you fall in love with sports?
That's a really good question. I guess, I'd have to say my dad had a lot to do with it because in that time at 6 and 7, when I can remember, we would go to sporting events. We'd go see the Braves when they came to town, when they first started, way back in the 60s, in the mid 60s, and we'd go to games there. He would take me to Richmond football games because he was a Richmond Spider back in his collegiate days and did play a small bit of football at Richmond in his early days. So that was his thing. And I guess he got me started in it, and of course I started playing baseball at a young age. So I would say I'd have to give him most of the credit. And then once I got going with it, it was just something that I really was attracted to quite a bit. I'd get in the yard and play. And, when I was growing up, we didn't have video games. You had to do your own thing. A lot of times I'd be by myself. So I'd be out playing my own game with my own bat, my own ball, my own basketball, my own football. And not only that, but I would also kind of be announcing the game as I went along. So that's probably where all that came from, watching only one game. You only saw one per week. There wasn't on every night.
You didn't get your choice.
That was it. Kurt Gowdy started it, Joe Garziola after that with baseball, and then, football and all those things. So I think it probably starting with my dad because he would sit and watch games and take us to games as well. So that's probably where it starts.
It's funny that you say the commentary. It's so funny. Like I remember being in the backyard with one of my best friends and we would play football. We would sit there and I remember calling the game in my head as it was going on, and it would just be it was so much fun. I didn't realize how much fun it was doing it, at that time frame, or maybe watching a game on TV and then recording you, just to see what you sound like as you're calling the game. It's so many great memories of doing it when I was younger. That's a really, really cool memory. I remember doing that. I remember doing that myself.
Yeah, and I got a tape recorder when I was young, and I just started doing the same thing there with the TV. But I didn't, at the time, think it would pan out to be doing what I would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I just did it because I like doing it. It wasn't like, well, I'm going to be this when I get older. That didn't occur until a little bit later. But that was not in my mind at that time. I was just doing it because it's something I like to do. And I guess it just, evolved into something else a little bit later on. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I just love knowing, sometimes when it calls your name, you just kind of run into it. And so it's a beautiful thing. I think, I first thought I wanted to be a chef. I don't know why.
Yeah, right.
I was like, I want to learn how to cook. Now I look at it, I'm like, no, I don't want that problems.
My thing was veterinarian. That's what I thought I was going to do until I found out that I needed, in addition to 4 years, 4 more years and all the other things. And I didn't do well in chemistry. So but biology was great. Chemistry, no chance.
I said, what, maybe it's not meant to be.
We're not going to be doing that. That's not going to work out. So that's the way that went. But
that's awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk about your career. I want to take you from the point, when you in the college, heading all into where you are now, your time with the Richmond Braves. I want to kind of know all of it. I want to know how to, take us on that journey from that point in high school through college up until now.
Well, when I got out of high school, I went to the University of Richmond to start with. And my intention was to, continue to play baseball, which I did in high school. And I had talked about, it was Richmond. There were a couple other schools in the state that I thought about going to. And I asked my high school coach, can I play at Richmond or should I go to, Washington and Lee?
Mm-hmm.
And Washington and Lee was journalism and Richmond had journalism. So at that time I had decided that I was going to major in journalism more so, from the writing standpoint. Nowadays you do it all, but then it was, you do newspaper writing or you're broadcasting. So that's how that started, at least in that regard. And, he told me, well, you'll play right away at Washington Lee. You might play at Richmond, but you have to wait a while. So I decided to go to UR because that's where my dad went. And, Randolph-Macon was another option, but I didn't want to major in English. Ironically enough, what I do now is my full-time job. I am an English teacher. Go figure that.
Right.
But so to make a long story longer, you know, I decided to go to Richmond. I got involved with their college radio station. The sports director of that radio station at the time was Yuki Washington, who played basketball at Richmond and has been on the Philadelphia station, Channel 3, I think it is,
Mm-hmm.
KYW, maybe the call letters, for about 30 years doing the nightly news. So he got me started. And we would do games from Marsh Hall, which is the dorm next to Pitt Field.
Mm-hmm.
We were looking out, there was no press box like there is now. There were hardly any stands. But we were looking out, we were in the hallway using a phone from someone's room
Oh man.
and broadcasting out of the hallway window to do the games on the college station, the ones that we did. So that's kind of how I got started. As time evolved through Richmond, I would make it through the fall and get to that last cut, and I wouldn't make it past that, so I decided to transfer. I went out to the University of Evansville. They had a full-fledged broadcasting curriculum, so I majored in the TV sequence, which they had their own studio on campus, which back then, you know, that was kind of a big deal. You know, you didn't have those things. Now it's everywhere, but you didn't have it back then. So they had their own TV studio. We did our own things through that. And so, you know, I learned a lot doing that, got involved with the college station, did some broadcasting there. And, you know, again, did some baseball games, but I got to do football as well and girls basketball with that college station. So there were a lot more opportunities. So that got me started. After college was over, I kind of came back to my hometown, which is West Point, where I grew up. Did a little bit of work for the Tidewater Review, the local paper, you know, writing small stories, taking pictures. And I should go back to high school, because in high school, I started writing articles on the football and basketball games.
Mm-hmm.
I would have notes taken, and I'd write the article after the game was over. It's a weekly paper, so they had to be in by Thursday or Wednesday, and then they would put it in. So I did some of that too, you know, while also playing. Didn't write any for baseball, but I did basketball. I didn't play basketball, but I did play football. And so sports was just something I was really into. But I really wanted to do the broadcasting part. I didn't really know how to go about it. I landed a job in Kilmarnock. A guy by the name of Dean Loudy.
Kilmarnock. There you go.
The radio station down there. I worked like 2 or 3 nights a week in air shift. And he got me really going. Before that job, though, in 1984, I worked at WHAP in Hopewell. Midnight to 6, country music DJ.
Ooh.
We do
Midnight
I did
to
Hopewell
6.
basketball, did the color commentary with Dick Harmon, who did the play-by-play. Dick's a longtime sportscaster in the area. You know, that was doing those games on the side. So I did games with him. You know, I lasted there for about 6 months. Left that job, latched on with Dean Loudy part-time later. And then if you want to call it the big break, I guess, I got a job in Culpeper, Virginia, doing Culpeper football, basketball, and an air shift with it. You had to do an air shift back then. You couldn't just do sports by itself. So I did country music on HAP. This was more contemporary on this AM station, but also got to do football and basketball. And I used to pattern my opens, the recorded opens, after what Virginia did. You know, when you put the music bed down, you do a long intro, you play a cut, you say the game's coming up next, that kind of thing. And so I got to know Warren Swain, who was Virginia's radio announcer, who passed away a couple weeks ago. Just learned that news. I got to know him through that job. I got a chance to go do baseball, which is really what I wanted to do. While I was working in Culpeper, I went up to I went up to a Mets exhibition game, rather.
Expo
in RFK.
Yeah.
It was April 4th. Back then, the season didn't start in March, and it was snowing. And I sat up atop RFK with a tape recorder, and I did like 5 innings into a tape recorder because I really wanted to do baseball. And
Right.
this was a game where, Sid Fernandez was pitching. I got a pregame with Davey Johnson. So I just fired that tape out. I went to the winter meetings twice to try to get a baseball job. Never worked out. And I got a response from a team in Hampton. And so I was at Culpeper a year and a half or so, went to Hampton, did baseball with them. That organization was kind of a mess, but I did get to do all the games. And took that job, went to Burlington, North Carolina off of that one because the team in Hampton had gotten sold and they made some changes and they didn't want to put the money into radio. So after that, come back to Warren Swain and Virginia, during the baseball season in Burlington, I'd gotten, ironically enough, my mom had seen an ad in the paper that Virginia was, or WINA, was looking for someone to do this, and this. Assistant sports director, women's basketball, pregame, postgame, sideline for football, all that. So I called Warren because I had talked to him before. And he said, well, get something in the mail. So I overnighted a tape.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I know, he called me back like the next day. I didn't even go there to interview for the job. He said, we want you to come up and start.
Can't beat that.
Like, and I finished the baseball season first. No, because we're playing Notre Dame in the kickoff classic August 28th. And I need you there for that.
Say less. Okay. I guess I'm going to go
to about, sorry guys, got to go. And I didn't like doing that, but that's kind of how that went.
Yeah.
And so I told myself when that happened, I said, I won't go. I love doing baseball, but I'm not going to go back unless I can, just do baseball and not have to do sales and all the other things.
Right.
So I was at Virginia for 6 years. Things changed there. And I started working down here with Gary Hess part-time at VNN. And I actually did, when Steve Stewart, who's with Kansas City Royals now, he went to a wedding, I think. And Mike O'Toole called me and said, can you come down and do 3 games for Steve while he's out this weekend? Said, yeah, sure. Come to find out later at the end of that year, Steve didn't come back. And I had those 3 games on tape. And I just told Bruce Baldwin, I'm interested in this job if you. Yeah. And I think it came down, from my understanding, it came down between me and Don Orsillo. Don, of course, now is, a major network, San Diego Padres, does the game of the week sometimes on some of these. And there were some reasons why Don ended up in Pawtucket. I ended up here. And then I stayed here until the Braves left. And since then, I've been doing freelancing. Bob Black's been, I worked with Bob at 910 when I was doing the Braves job. Because I'd work 6 months at 910 and then work 6 months with the Braves. But Bob and I would work together doing the shows, hosting when we had the talk shows back then. And thanks to Bob and the Richmond people, I've been able to come in and started doing women's basketball. Now, of course, with all the games they do on TV, when Bob does the TV, I can slide over and do the radio. And, I've been able to keep my hands in it. But during that time, I had to find something full time. That's when I went and pursued the teaching license. And that's what I've been doing now for the last 7 years. But I can still work around, going over and doing a game, doing a women's game with you, doing all those things. So,
yeah, that
long-winded answer. That's probably the best.
Well, it's so funny because when you said 12 to 6, I said, 12 to 6 is that's when you got love for the game, because
that's a total change. I mean, and that's the way things were then. You had to do something else. You weren't just going to get paid to go broadcast a Hopewell Day. I mean, you get paid for it, but that's all you were going to do.
Right.
And you had to do something else. You couldn't just be a sports guy like you can now.
Yeah.
Now you can do that. And the other aspect of that is, but when you were in those small markets, and Hopewell's, not a small market, but it is in the business per se.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do something else. So the job was 12 to 6. That's AM, midnight,
Yeah, you said
doing
midnight
the
to six.
overnight shift.
Ooh.
And, I had to adjust the schedule there. I wasn't used to that. I'd come home, sun's still out. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I had to figure out, how can I sleep? How can I make this work? What can I do to make it work? Because it was hard to figure out, I can't stay up all day. How do I get, so it was really hard to, I stayed there for a little while. Then they moved me in the news in the afternoon before I decided to do a couple other things. But that was an adjustment.
Yeah, it had to be. As soon as you said, I said, yeah, I don't know if I'd have been able to. I'm not gonna say I wouldn't have been able to. I definitely would have taken some time. I worked overnight at one job, and I knew me. I'm not a good daytime sleeper.
Yeah,
So
right.
I already knew, like, as soon as if I didn't have, I had blackout curtains. I don't even know if they were a thing at certain points, but if I'd have been a little bit smarter, blackout curtains and then just go to sleep then. But it was just so hard for me because I think mentally I just knew that it was daytime, and I'm like,
Right.
it's daytime and you're asleep, and then it's like when you wake up, you sleep and it's dark, and you go to work and it's dark, and I'm like, where's the light? Feel like I'm in Alaska or something like that.
Well, and you mentioned Alaska. Okay, one of the things I got to do, and I got to do a ton of things when I was at Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the experiences I got to do through Virginia, and basketball and football were unreal. One of the things I got to do, I had to do the Great Alaska Shootout in 1990.
Oh,
that was Jeff Jones's first year, I think. So they went out there and they played Siena, somebody else, and UCLA in a championship game. Because Warren was doing football and Virginia was playing Virginia Tech in Blacksburg.
Oh yeah, it came. Yeah,
that's the year that they were number one, and that's the year that Virginia Tech, in that last game, because Sean Moore got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Tech in that last game just mopped them up. They'd already accepted the Sugar Bowl bid to go play Tennessee, and Tech just blew them out that night.
Sad.
In Blacksburg that night. So Warren was in there doing that game, so somebody had to go to Alaska.
I said, I guess I'm going to Alaska. I guess I'm headed to Alaska.
And the thing about Alaska then, it was in November. It was over Thanksgiving, right around in that area. You got about 4 hours of daylight.
Oh yeah, you caught it during the day, the bad time. Oh man.
Unlike that one movie with Robin Williams where they have 24 hours of daylight. When you can't sleep. But this was like 4 hours of daylight, and the daylight at that time, it's cloudy, it's gray. You get up at 9 a.m, the NFL games are on. You're all out of whack at that.
It's like, I hate this. So I used to complain about going on the West Coast. I'm like, all right, West Coast, 3 hour difference, and it always bothered me because I'm like, where I live, it's 10 o'clock. It would always, like, I'll wake up, I'm like, oh, it's 7. And all I can think, my wife would call me. I said, what you doing? She was like, none, it's 10 o'clock. I said, is it? And I'm like, it's 7 over here. That's all I could think about every time I went to California. So I couldn't even imagine being like, oh, here it is, 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, football is on.
You think it's one more hour, 4 hours difference.
It's a 4 hour difference? Okay, so it's a 4 hour difference. Yeah, see, that would be tough. That would be tough. 1 o'clock games coming on at 9 a.m. Well, I mean, I guess nowadays you kind of get used to that because of the London game. So right. Like I said, the London game would be terrible for you because you got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, so I don't. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that one. But yeah, so what kind of look? We're entering into a new sports season for Richmond Spiders. Athletes out there, and you do lacrosse, correct, as well as
yes,
a multitude of others. The lacrosse team has been pretty good over the years. What are your outlooks on the lacrosse team? Of course, women's basketball, but just some of the teams across the landscape that you are either excited about or looking forward to, getting behind the mic and talk some sports about this year.
Well, if you want to start with lacrosse, of course, I haven't taken a lot of look at the personnel yet, but I would say that, as long as Dan Chamati and Paul Richards are there, they're going to keep doing the same thing they've been doing. They're not going to sneak up on anybody anymore because they've developed a really, really good program. They can score, they can defend, They get great goaltending, and it's just been a really good fit. I remember when I was at Richmond, there were a lot of people who had, that would come there from other schools and come from their high schools as students wearing lacrosse things. We didn't have a lacrosse team, but it's always been a fit, I think, for that school. So it's a great opportunity for them. They took a big step again last year. They're so close to where they can get to win a couple more games. They beat some of those teams that ended up moving on. So I think they're close, and they'll keep chipping away at it. I haven't looked at specifics for them yet, but I'm pretty sure, they're probably losing a couple good offensive pieces. When you look at football, I want to see how the second year in the Patriot League goes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that last year didn't catch them off guard, but they got everybody's best shot because the Patriot League people had something to prove. The Lehighs, the Bucknells, all those other teams that were really good. They had something they wanted to prove, that Richmond's not just going to walk in here and take this league over.
Right.
So I think now that Richmond has gone through it, the players and the coaches from a football perspective, now that they've gone through it once, they kind of know what to expect. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how William and Mary and Villanova handle that.
Right.
Going through it for the first time themselves. Is it going to affect them the same way? And nowadays, with the landscape the way it is, you never know kind of what you're going to have and what you're not. You lost a couple guys to a couple of the big schools, with the NIL deals. But I think they'll be decent on defense. I think they're going to be really good defensively. And it's just going to depend on what they can do on offense. Basketball is kind of the same way. A whole lot of new faces.
Mm-hmm.
Seemingly got a lot of good guys from what it looks like. But, got to figure out how they're going to mesh together and how they're going to play. From what I hear early on, it seems that they're excited about it. And you hope they would be, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think, it's just like anything else. How are they going to mesh? Sometimes we've seen this where in these last couple of years, some of these guys come in, they mesh really well, and then some of them don't. We'll see how it goes this year. Obviously optimistic to see what happens and look forward to that. On the women's side, everything's new, right?
Everything. Yeah, it's gonna be different.
We don't know what
it's gonna be different. It's definitely gonna be different.
We don't know what the system is. We don't know. We knew what Aaron was going to do. We knew what the players were going to do, but we're not sure how this is all going to fit in. It seems like they got some good, decent players that they brought in, but again, we're going to have to see how it pans out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to tell, but it obviously looking forward to getting in and calling some of the games. Always looking forward to that no matter what.
Exactly.
I was told a story a long time ago. Dave Van Horn, who does the Marlins, did the Marlins. I think he's retired now. He also did the Richmond Braves years ago, Richmond Braves with Frank Soden. And Dave went to the Montreal Expos from there. And then when the Expos ended up in Florida, he ended up in Miami. I was in the booth one day just visiting up there, talking to them. And he told me a story about he was in, Montreal was going through a terrible season. And they were playing the Cardinals, and Jack Buck came in the booth, and they were talking. And Dave was bemoaning the fact about this bad year and blah, blah, blah. Jack stopped him, reached into his pocket. He pulled out a wad of $100 bills, put it down on the table. And he said, you know what? That's why we do this. You don't worry about what happens. You don't worry about what the team is doing. Your job is to do this for that and make it almost like every game is the seventh game of the World Series. That's hard.
No, it is. That is true.
It's hard to do that, but that's the advice that Dave spit out there, or the story that he told about that. So when you're having a tough time, when you're having a season that doesn't go very well, you still got to do a game.
True.
You still got people listening, so you got to make it. You can't fool people, right? With what you're saying, you can't try to trick people, but you at least have to approach it with enough enthusiasm to make it, sound good for that night. It's just the one game, and you do the game and you wait and do the next one. So
yeah. I mean, and that's 100% true. I mean, we're seeing some very interesting times. I mean, like I know with women's basketball, it'll be the third coach since I started covering the team, which was in 17. So I'm like, wow, on coach number 3. When we've seen the ups and we've seen the downs in that time frame, so it's going to be exciting for something new. To kind of learn a new style and learn, how some of the players that are returning. Sweeney's coming back. It looks like, Rain Wright will be back. So you got a couple of the players coming back. So I'm just interested how they will intertwine with the newer players. And I saw some of the names of the newer players. We're going to have a very interesting time. There was a couple of them. I said, "Ooh, that one gonna be a doozy." So I'll let you say it first. Of course, I'm color, so I'll let you say it first, and then I'll just kind of go from there.
Our fantastic athletic information department.
Yes,
all of our people there.
Yes,
give us the pronunciation before I even try to go anywhere.
They're gonna hook us up. They're gonna put us
in a
really
good place. I'm still
gonna
probably mess it up because that's what I do. So.
Right there.
Once I get it in my head, I'm not gonna,
I'm like,
no, it's not this, it's that.
I'm pretty sure it's this, but we're gonna go with that. All right, now, Robert, are you ready for the Robert Fish edition of Quick Ones?
Sure. Let's try it. See what happens.
All right, let's get it started. Here comes Quick Ones. All right, Rob. First one on Quick Ones. Your favorite sports moment. This could be as a fan. This could be as just anything. But what is your favorite sports moment?
It may not be so quick. To make it quick, I would have to say that my group used to go to a lot of Virginia games. It's probably that win over Florida State in '95. That's going to be because everybody was jacked up for that game. This was before the expansion of the stadium. The place was rocking. And, Virginia was up like 33-14 in that game. And Florida State came roaring back, and they stopped them on the goal line. So I'm going to have to go with that for that.
It's a pretty good one. Now, I was a kid watching. I remember watching that game. And just like, oh man, I think Virginia was undefeated at the time, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember just hoping that they would beat them because Florida State was becoming this powerhouse. So I remember watching it and just being so excited that they got the win. Now I did get to see the quote unquote part 2 that happened a couple of years ago. I got a chance to be on the field for that one. And it almost ended the same way, but it had some similarities with Virginia stopping them at the 1. And I was just like, I cannot believe they were able to pull this off. But and then I think last year they had another thriller, which I didn't get a chance to go to last year's thriller. I was so mad at myself. I had a high school game that night, and I'm like, I'm missing out on I believe me, I enjoyed my high school game, but I was missing out on something special in that one.
Yeah, those moments happen sometimes.
Yeah, just a little bit. So we go from favorite to worst. Give me your worst sports moment.
Wow.
Yeah, I know it's probably a couple of them in there.
Worst sports moment.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. I'm just going to go with what comes to mind first.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably, as a Braves fan, watching the Braves lose some of those World Series.
Oh man, yeah.
Mark Wohlers giving up the shot to Jim Leyritz. I kind of knew it was over then when that happened. When they turned it, they had a 2-0 lead. Just finishing short on some of those World Series opportunities is probably. So it's more than one. It's
a group thing.
Right. Lost to the Yankees, lost to the Blue Jays. It's probably going to go in there.
I get it.
It was a tough. Something that pops into my head right away. Because I can sit here and think of a whole bunch of them.
It's like a tough period between what was that 91, 92 to about 97, 98. Yeah. So just the 90s in general, you got to sneak one in there. So that part was good. That part was good. Next one, who's your favorite athlete of all time?
Favorite athlete of all time, boy. Whew. That's a tough one. Because you're looking at different sports, obviously, and different things. I guess I'll let you
name a couple. That's okay.
I'll just go with what pops into my head first again, and that would probably be Aaron. Would be one of my favorites.
It's a good one.
And after that, I'm not really thinking of anything right now. Nothing's popping in, but I'll start with that. I'll just go with Aaron.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Next, we have sport that you secretly love. People may not know that you love this sport, but what is the sport you secretly love?
Um, I would say hockey.
Man, that's probably gonna be mine too. I tell people like people don't realize like I have a hockey video game. People was like, "Well, you're a hockey fan. Who do you like?" I said, "Well, Quebec." And it's like, "You like Quebec?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a Quebec Nordiques fan. Well, I'm an Avalanche fan now because of that." But
Yeah,
they was
because
like, "Well,
that's
how do
for
you?"
Quebec
They
and
was
then
like, "Well,
others.
they was like, how do you like Quebec?" And when I tell people the story, they laugh because I'm like, "Well, I was 10, right? NHL '94 comes out, and I'm playing this game in my aunt house, and I just thought it was so cool that a team started with a Q. You just didn't see it. Only team I ever played with on the game. I knew all the players, Ron Hextall, and then they had Sadine, and throw a little bit of Sackett in there, and it just kind of went into there. And the next thing you know, I think it was like maybe like a year or so later, they had a new game, and they weren't on the game. I'm like, yo, where's Quebec? Had no clue. Come to find out, they went to Colorado. An Avalanche fan. I've been an Avalanche fan ever since. Almost 30 years of being a Colorado / Quebec Nordiques fan. So yeah, I feel you on that. That hockey is that secret one that people are like. You really like hockey? Yes, yes. Playoff hockey, amazing. You can't beat playoff hockey. So I'm right
But
there.
I was lucky that one of the guys I went to Evansville with, uh, he played hockey,
Mm-hmm.
and as I got into it with roller hockey first, and then when I bought the outfit and I learned how to ice skate, and I actually played some here in Richmond when we had the ice rink
Mm-hmm.
over in Short Pump, which is still there now, but it was a double rink before that. You could go in and do pickup game, be
Mm-hmm.
10 o'clock at night, pay your money to go in and play with whoever was there. So I got to play a little bit of it. I wasn't great
Yeah.
at it, but I enjoyed playing it. It was fun. So yeah, I do like it a lot. I actually got to cover it when I was in Culpeper because I had a pass to the Capitals
Oh, yeah. That'd have been
when
nice. That'd have been
when they
nice.
had Mike Gardner, Larry Murphy, Dale Hunter, that group.
Yeah.
So I got to go to a lot of games,
That's a good deal. That's a
and
good
and
deal.
I'd have to go on my own. I'd just drive up there back in the old
Pass and
camp
go
center
in.
days.
Yeah, I think it's funny because like I've been a hockey fan for 30 years, and I finally got to do my first game this year. It was my first ever game back in March, and I just smiled the whole time. It was, so Colorado was coming in town. I've been saying for years, I'm going to this game. I'm going to this game. Colorado's gonna come in town. I'm gonna go to the game. I said it for years, never went. But this year, it just kind of worked out. And I said, you know what, I gotta take a I just gotta go. And it was great. They won in overtime. So I was like, yes, they're 1-0 when I'm in the game. So if I never do another Avalanche game, I'm set because they're 1-0 while I was there. Next one more. We got two left doing quick ones.
All right.
Give me the greatest game in your opinion that you've ever called. And if there's a couple, but is there one that just sticks out to you that is the greatest game that you feel like you've ever called?
That I've ever called. Let me see. I called I guess it's going to have to be this one, even though there's probably a few of them, but
Mm-hmm.
I called, I think it's 92, the Virginia Tennessee National Championship game on the radio
Mm.
back in Charlottesville when Virginia lost in overtime, had the lead, and Tennessee tied it. That's probably, for a number of reasons, probably for me, the greatest one I've ever called. I got to call the Governor's Cup winner for the Richmond Braves,
Mm-hmm.
in their last few years here when they hadn't won a Governor's Cup for a while. So that probably falls in there. But I would have to put those two at the top of the list.
Yeah. I went to the very last Richmond Braves game. Uh that now, and it's so funny. I had won tickets on the radio. I was at work and it was like, hey, we're giving away our last tickets to the Richmond Braves game. And the question was, it was something about Martin Luther King. And it was like, who did I drink? Man, I called so fast. I don't know how I got through so fast as I did, but got through. One, I think they gave me like 4 tickets to the game, so it was cool. So I was at the very last game. I almost got hit by a foul ball too. That was something I wasn't expecting, but it almost went down.
It's good. It was just a foul ball with the stuff that was going on with that stadium. Yeah.
I was so scared. I'll never forget. I was walking, and next thing you know, you hear bing. I turned around, the ball dropped right beside me, and I wasn't paying attention. I went to go get food for my wife, and we were only married for like 2 years then. It was just a pow. So woo. I said, you know what? I'm gonna go sit down. This is not this is not what I needed to be. Last one. Here's a fun one. You're putting on a comedy show. All right. You get to pick 4 comedians to be on the show. Who's going to be your opener? Who's, in the middle, and who's going to be your headliner, the last person to go on. 4 comedians, your choice, dead or alive, doesn't make a difference. Who are you picking to be on your comedy show? This is the Robert Fish Comedy Show.
Okay. I tell you what, I'm not going to take all 4 of them because the guys on Whose Line Is It?
Yes. Wayne Brady.
They're all fantastic. Yeah. I mean, Ryan Stiles, Wayne Brady, Colin Mockery. I can't pick all of them. I'm not going to pick all of them because I got one more guy I want to put in there. If people haven't followed him, it's a guy by the name of Brian Regan. If you're not familiar with Brian Regan, you need to look him up. The guy is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So, I mean, you can't leave guys like Eddie Murphy out. You can't leave, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, those. I know I'm picking more than 4 here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to leave Regan at the end.
Okay.
Because, he'd be the last guy. And I know a lot of people may not know a lot about him. Do a little search on him. Watch his Netflix show.
Okay.
I mean, he's hilarious. I think he's hilarious. Others may not.
So this is how we're going to do it. So it works. So the opening act is the crew, ladies and gentlemen, as a unit. The Who Line Is It Anyway crew, and then we got what you said, Eddie in there. You also got
I put Pryor and Carlin,
and Carlin in there, and then we throw Regan in. Like that works out. See, that's the way you get to everybody in the show. They come in as a group. Because like you say, if you can't pick just one of the 3 Stooges, you pick a group. You pick the 3 Stooges as a whole. That works as an act.
Yeah, those guys have to be as a group. I mean, they're just unbelievably funny. My wife can't stand it. I watch it. She can't.
I love 3 Stooges, man.
I'll go sit in the other room.
Just cracking up. It's so funny. I mean, it came out in 1930s, 1940s, and still to this day, I can sit and watch, and I'll be still cracking up. Watching the 3 good comedy, no matter what the situation is, will always make you laugh. And it's so funny. Like it's almost 100 years old. And it's like, yeah, but these guys are legends. Like they're in my echelon of comedians. I love the 3 Stooges. So tell your wife, just like, I'm gonna go in the other room. It's okay. You don't mind me laughing for a few hours.
Right. That's it.
All right, everybody. That was it for the Robert Fish edition of Quick Ones. We're gonna finish this up the right way with Leave Your Legacy. All right. First of all, before we get into the final segment here, I want to just say once again, thank you, Robert, for coming on, my man, and joining me for this. And I know that I said a little bit at the beginning, but I truly meant what I said at the beginning. Like, when I started doing this, trying to get into the sports world and grow back there in 2017, and me and Blaine talked about this last week on the show about how, some people you think in this industry that people may gatekeep and they may not want you to grow because there's so many limited spots. And that's how I thought when I first came in. But I was pleasantly surprised when I met like yourself and some others that just really wasn't the case. I really thought it was going to be something like, well, I can't have you come in here and take my spot. I can't have you come in here and do this and that. And you guys, yourself, Bob Black, Blaine, Craig, just everybody at Richmond has been so kind to me. And I can't believe this year is going to be like the 10th. I'm going on close to the 10th year, but I just know that for me, it's always been a pleasure. And like, I truly, truly, truly appreciate it because I learned a lot from all of you. And I just truly appreciate it. You could have easily been like, get away from me, kid, scram. That's what I said to Blaine. Like, scram, get out of here, kid. I don't have time for this, but you didn't do that. And so I'll be forever appreciative.
Well, we all need somebody, right? I mean, nobody gets anywhere in this business without some help. And, I had my share of help people helping me. Frank Soden was one person that, would stick up for me. And I could send Frank a tape and he'd listen to it and send me stuff back, and he'd try to help me do this and do that. So you've got to have, if you want to call it a mentor or whatever, you just need somebody to help out. And that's, I've always told people that I still get questions. I just sent something off today to a buddy of mine. His nephew wants to get into this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind talking to people. If I can help, great. I mean, I got more yesterdays than tomorrows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I can help, great. I've done my thing. I've had my time in the sun, and I'm still enjoying it and doing it and hoping I can continue doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I get it. But I think that, everybody, like I said, needs somebody to just give them a hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell anybody that's interested in doing it, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I have plenty of people telling me, you don't want to do that. You need to go do this. No, that's why don't. What I would tell people is, okay, you go after it and you do whatever you want to get it,
mm-hmm.
but make sure you got something to fall back on.
True.
In case you don't, because sometimes that happens. Or you may get what you want and you have it for a few years, and then the rug gets yanked out from under you, which happens a ton in this.
Yeah, that's the thing that people don't realize. It happens a lot. Like, you can be on the top of the world 1 minute, and then the next minute they be like, "Well, this ain't cutting out." And
it's all of a sudden it's just like a player. One day it stops. It just stops.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any control over it sometimes. So you do it until you can't do it anymore. And for you, you're just getting started. You got opportunities. And I was thinking about this earlier before I came on with you. Like I've alluded to a couple of times, you had to do something else when I was doing this. Now you can
mm-hmm.
do this on your own. You got podcasts, right. You got websites. You can do things on your own, like you've done. And you've done a terrific job in setting up this, little industry here, this little setup that you have and what you do with it, in covering the things you get to cover. And you never know where that door is going to open or where that's going to come from, because you were with somebody.
Right.
Or because you were doing something next to somebody, or somebody saw what you were doing. You just don't know. We don't know what opportunities are going to happen. So, you do it as long as you can and just continue to do it. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Don't let anybody tell you shouldn't do it. Just make sure you have other things to fall back on if needed. And that's not just about you. It's just a general statement,
right?
Everybody. So
yeah, I've been in the point where I've heard the can'ts, and it's just nice to be able to kind of like, I'll look back. Sometimes I'll look back from now to when I first started and think like, wow, I cannot believe I've had a chance to do a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff in the last time. I still can't believe it at times. I'm like, oh man, you've been on Radio Row at the Super Bowl, you've done this and that, and sometimes I'm baffled. Every time we do a broadcast together or we're on there, I'm like, it's ESPN. Like when you're a kid, all you talked about was, I want to be on ESPN one day. And when it happened the first couple of years ago, when we did the Little Liberty game together. And I said to myself, I still can't believe it. I have the picture on the background of my computer of me and you doing that game together, and I always keep it on my computer, and it's just like I always go back and look at it and be like, I cannot believe this actually happened, even though I knew that's what I always wanted to do. But it was just like, man, I can't believe it actually happened. So the industry has so many blessings in it. It can pull a rug from you, but there's so many blessings along the way. The opportunities to meet people you never like first year we were here, Patrick Ewing comes into town. When in Georgetown, I'm like, I'd have never thought I'd get to ask Patrick Ewing a question right there. That was all in my first year. Patrick Ewing got to ask Aaron Rodgers a question at a game. I was sitting there like on cloud. Like then I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Looking at it now in retrospect, I'm like, wow, I've done, and like I said, not too no on, but I've really been able to do a lot, and it's humbling at times. Just like, oh, this is cool. This is really cool.
I don't know if I told you this, and I may have, and so forgive me if I repeat it. But Dawn Staley's last year at Virginia, Debbie Ryan always, and all coaches do this, they set up a home game for a player from their hometown. She's from Philly.
Right.
But we played at Temple. And this was, I don't remember what year it was. That was her last year. It's probably 92 or somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to Temple, sit down. I'm doing the part of doing the game. They're blowing Temple out. And the sports information director comes over to me and says, "Do you want Charles Barkley on at halftime?"
Excuse me? Oh.
And I looked at her and I said, "Yeah, sure, whatever." I thought she was kidding.
And then he pulls up.
The next thing I know, he turned around and Barkley's sitting next to me. And he stays there and does like half of the second half with me. This was before he
That's
he
insane.
was still playing for the Sixers.
That's so crazy. I wouldn't know what to do.
She was kidding you. Yeah, sure. Bring him on over. Whatever. Bring him on. Come on. And there's Barkley sitting there. And so, like you said, you don't, I'm at a Virginia, Maryland game, football. I'm on the sidelines. And then we had a linebacker named Yusef Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jesse Jackson's son. Next thing I know, I turn around and there's Jesse Jackson standing next to me. I'm not going to see Jesse Jackson. I'm not going to meet these guys. I mean, that's just how it started. And then, of course, when we got into baseball, Mark DeRosa, who's on MLB Network, was one of our players. I go to the Nats game against San Francisco when he was with the Giants. I go into the locker room after the game's over, getting interviews with a couple of guys, and here comes DeRosa. "Hey, Fish, what are you doing?" I'm like, and all the guys are looking at me like, "Who is this guy?" Just because DeRosa comes up to me and starts talking to me, but it's just little things like that.
Yeah.
That you're not going to get a chance to talk to some of these people or be around these people.
Exactly.
In a normal light. Everybody else has, and I guess the other side of that coin is you're not jaded, but you kind of get a little bit, you don't have the fanboy mentality after a while because
you're used to it. You get kind of
rubbing elbows with John Elway and this guy and that guy, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
You just get used to it after a while.
I've seen him, like people will be like, "Well, you like now you'd be like Jaden Daniels, oh, that's cool." Like, yeah, I know. And it's, I hate to be like throw it away, but it's like, yeah, I see Jaden in practice yesterday. Like, and I say it calmly. And it's not a flex, but it'd be like, yeah. And then like, I think a couple weeks ago, I asked Lamar Jackson a question. They were like, "Hey, I saw that question you asked Lamar. That's so cool." I'm like, "Yeah, Lamar's a cool guy." He spoke to us afterward. And then it was like, "Oh man, that's crazy." So it's like you look at him like, I get to do something that a lot of people would love to do. But I think it takes special people to be able to kind of like handle it, like, because you could easily be like, "Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it." And I've seen presidents because of this. So, saw Biden a couple years ago, saw Trump at the game last year. I've seen, Jay-Z, seen 50 Cent all in just 1 year. Saw Eminem like a couple years ago, and they're all on the side, like standing like, I said, this is so crazy. But those are Usher. Saw Usher last year. That was cool. I mean, it's just been it's been awesome. It's been awesome. But enough about me. I want to know, as we leave your legacy, when it's all said and done, you're sitting on the beach, drink of choice, or on a vacation spot, and you get a chance to reflect on your career. What type of legacy do you want people to say about you? What type of legacy you want to leave behind once you've hung it up for good?
Well, I guess I just would like to, think that everybody would say that I was professional at what I did. May not always been the case, but I tried to be, just was, professional, solid, if not spectacular, just did a good job covering the game and letting people know what's going on and keeping up with things. And just, trying to be fair. Those, I think, are the basic things that I can think of, really. Just to say that, they just enjoyed something when I was doing it. And that would probably be the biggest thing, is to make sure that, everybody enjoyed it as much as I hopefully enjoyed it. And hopefully I could portray that. And that's not always easy, but I would think those would be the main things that I would think about.
That's awesome. I mean, and it may be some people eyes that may be basic, but sometimes that's all it takes. You want to leave behind a great reputation. So that I can't even complain about that. Well, Rob, I appreciate you, brother. Before we leave, last thing, next week for episode 209, our guy, Craig Coker, will be on. He is a professional sports broadcaster and, of course, school chaplain for U of R. And so we're excited to have Craig on next week. We're going to dig a little bit into his career and how he's gotten to this point in his career, and then, quote unquote, completing, ladies and gentlemen, I'm calling it, the Richmond Spiders sweep here on one-on-one. So it was an honor. I remember asking everybody back right during basketball season, hey, you come on and join it? Like, yeah. So I was like, this is great. Had my first four guests locked in. I was hyped about it. And I'm just glad that you guys were able to come on and join me to talk about your careers, because it definitely deserves to be highlighted. A lot of hard work has happened over the years. And I, like I said, as a person who's been able to be with you, become friends, and really and work and be a colleague, I appreciate every single moment, my friend.
Keep up the good work, and we're looking forward to getting back together. Probably, I guess, in November.
Yeah,
it's before then, but when we actually get on the airwaves.
Yeah, it'll be here before you know it. Once again, everybody, thank you all for episode 208 of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network with my special guest, Robert Fish. Rob, once again, man, appreciate you for coming on. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you all next week. Craig Coker will be joining us for episode 209 on 101. Until then, everybody be safe. We'll see you all next time.
One. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome